Hey everyone, welcome to the Dyl Pickle Movie Network. I am Dylan Randazzo. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much. If you're listening on the Dyl Pickle Podcast, the brand new podcast that just dropped, as I said before, all my videos I do on the channel will be accessible via podcast now, so thank you for listening if you're listening. This is an exciting new chapter, not just for the channel, but for cinema. We're in 2023, which means it's time for the annual look ahead at the films of 2023. Now, doing a most anticipated list in January is difficult because a lot of the real prestige Oscar pictures that we will be getting next year aren't coming out till the end of the year, and we don't really even know about a lot of them yet. We know some rumors of some things in the works. A lot of films don't have release dates yet, so it's very hard to definitively put together a list of movies I think will be the best of 2023, but I can definitely tell you what I'm most excited for. How these videos work is I go through every single month, and with each month I talk about some of the films I'm excited to see, and then I will decide one film from each month that I will deem my most anticipated, and then at the end we will rank all of the films that I picked for each month plus some other films that don't have release dates yet, and compile a top 15 list. So let's get right into it with January. I really struggle with January because usually January is pretty barren with its releases, but this year January is packing some amazing punches. We already had Megan come out last week. I'm about to see Megan after I record this video. I'm very excited for Megan, and that would have been one of my honorable mentions as a film I'm most excited to see, but it has already come out, so I can't really be anticipating it. Another movie that may have already come out in some markets or some people have seen is called Skinamarink. This is a film that was not on my radar. I have had friends that have seen the film and have said it's probably the scariest movie they've ever seen, so I'm very excited for that, but also very, very scared. That comes out on the 13th. Also on the 20th, we have Missing, which is a follow-up to the amazing film Searching from 2018. That was a breakout hit and one of my favorite films of 2018, so the fact that there's a sequel means I'm very, very excited. But oddly enough, that is not my most anticipated release of January. Like I said, there's so many great January releases coming. My most anticipated is a new Brandon Cronenberg film, Infinity Pool. This is a film that will be premiering at Sundance in just a few weeks, and then it will be widely expanded into theaters on the 27th. Brandon Cronenberg burst onto the scene with Possessor a few years ago. It came out during the pandemic, so not a ton of people saw it, but it's on Hulu. It is one of the most skeevy, make you cringe, but also reel you in by how amazing it is, body horror I've ever seen, especially in this new wave of horror films. You know, body horror is such an impressive feat because you have to make things practical. If you try body horror with CGI, it usually doesn't look very good, and Brandon Cronenberg goes to the roots of body horror with prosthetics, with really interesting makeup effects, and that's what this trailer for Infinity Pool showed. It stars Alexander Skarsgård, who I love, and it also stars Mia Goth, who I not only love as an actress, but who has been in some of the best horror movies of the past few years. She was in Suspiria. She was my favorite part of Suspiria. She was also my favorite part of X and Pearl, and she was, the reason why those became such big hits is because of her performance. So I'm so excited for this film because of her, just to see her do another horror performance.
Maybe think of it as a gift.
But also for Brandon Cronenberg, what he brings to the body horror effects and all the makeup. It looks so trippy and twisted and crazy and cringy, and I cannot wait. For February, I did have a few honorable mentions, the first being Knock at the Cabin, the new M. Night Shyamalan film. I'm always down for a new Shyamalan film. Even if he doesn't stick the landing with his twists, I'm always intrigued by them nonetheless. 80 for Brady. I'm not a big Tom Brady fan, but I'm a fan of all the actresses in this film. And then we have Magic Mike's Last Dance. I actually haven't seen the sequel to Magic Mike, even though I heard it's an exceptional sequel, and I think the original is really interesting, what it has to say about sex work. Steven Soderbergh is returning to this film. This looks like it could be a really great trilogy capper. That comes out on the 10th. And then we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Something very interesting is public domain. As we get older, we will start to see more and more classic properties become public domain free, meaning you can use them however you want. Winnie the Pooh is something that just became available in the public domain, and they're making a really twisted horror movie about Winnie the Pooh. I don't think it's going to be good, but I'm intrigued nonetheless. And then we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, a Marvel film. Marvel has not had the best track record, especially in 2022, but we're in a new phase now, and I'm hoping for the best with this new phase. And spoiler alert, I do have some Marvel films coming up later down the list. But my choice for February is Cocaine Bear, which comes out on the 24th. This is directed by Elizabeth Banks, who famously did some of the Pitch Perfect films. And of course, she's a great actress. She's directing Kerry Russell, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Margot Martindale, and many other famous actors and actresses in this film, which is oddly enough a true story. If you've seen the trailer, you'd be like, wait, a true story? It's about this giant black bear that in the woods in the 80s comes across a package of cocaine, like a stash of cocaine, and basically gets high off cocaine. It's a bear on cocaine.
No, don't eat that. Let's see what kind of effect that has on me.
That alone is enough to sell me, but there are other reasons why I'm excited for this film. A, because I love a good camp horror film. Of course, it's coming out early in the year. It might not be the best film, but I'm still excited and intrigued because I really like ridiculous horror like that. And it stars Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta is one of my favorite actors. He passed away last year, and this is one of his last performances, so I think that also brings an attachment that makes me excited to see this film. Cocaine Bear looks like an absolute trip. I can't wait to go to the cinemas and just experience everything Cocaine Bear is.
Did cocaine.
For March, there are several films I thought about. A lot of sequels coming out in March, including the new Scream sequel, Scream 6, which comes out on the 10th. This is set in New York City. Very exciting. I live in New York City, so I'm excited to kind of see all the different environments and atmospheres that they use of the city culture with this Scream franchise. Very interesting. But again, not bringing back some of the original actors. You know, it's going to be a little tough to watch, even though I'm very excited for some of the new actors they brought along, especially Jenna Ortega, who's having a moment right now. I can't wait to see her in that film. Creed 3, the Michael B. Jordan directorial debut, also a sequel to Creed. Again, they're not bringing Sylvester Stallone back, so we'll see how that goes. I don't necessarily think a movie needs to have legacy characters in it, but we've never seen this franchise without Rocky, so it'll be very interesting to see this new chapter, especially with Jonathan Majors, who is going to be coming off of Ant-Man to be playing the villain in this role. I'm really excited to see the year he will have. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Trailer does not look good, but Rachel Zegler's in it. She's one of my favorite up-and-coming stars, so I will see it. Dungeons & Dragons. Again, trailer doesn't look good, but Chris Pine's in it, so I'll go see it. 65, which is a film that was not really on my radar. I watched the trailer. It looked good. It stars Adam Driver as this person. He's an astronaut who ends up on this remote planet. Turns out that this isn't a foreign planet. He's actually on a prehistoric Earth, and that's a really interesting premise. But what sold me was the production team. Sam Raimi is producing it. It is written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It's also directed by them. They wrote A Quiet Place. Of course, Adam Driver stars, so I'm very excited for this creative team, even if it's not my pick for March. My pick for March is John Wick Chapter 4. I really don't have to talk much about this. This is a movie that a lot of people are anticipating. The third John Wick was my favorite, even though a lot of people prefer the first two. So I'm even more excited for this film than a lot of others because I like how this film franchise has gotten better and better and better, and I think they're going to continue to outdo themselves. I'm very excited for John Wick Chapter 4.
I'm going to need a gun.
Goodbye, my friend. It's hard to die.
For April, my favorite month, because, spoiler alert, it's my birth month, we have some great films coming, including the new Ari Aster film, Beau is Afraid. I don't know anything about this film to really call it my most anticipated for the month, but I'm intrigued. I like his other films. Evil Dead Rise. I am also a little late to the game in becoming an Evil Dead fan, but because I have seen them recently, I'm a very, fresh and excited Evil Dead fan. So we'll see if this is a really nice sequel expansion of this franchise, or if this is going to fall a little flatter like some other horror franchises have done. Only time will tell. We have Renfield, which is the movie starring Nicolas Cage as Dracula. That is enough of a selling point as is. On the 14th, I will be seeing that. It comes out a few days before my birthday. I might see it on my birthday. I famously, if you follow me on Letterboxd, I saw Ambulance on my birthday last year, and a character's name was Randazzo, so it was just some weird coincidence. So who knows, maybe Renfield will have some weird personal connection to me on my birthday, I don't know. But my biggest pick, my most anticipated pick for April is a film that is also deals with a lot of nostalgia for me, and that is the Super Mario Bros. Movie on the 7th. I had no problems with this trailer. I know people are like, oh, Chris Pratt's voice. We heard 2 seconds of it, so I'm very excited, even if Chris Pratt isn't the best Mario voice.
Oh, I got this. No problem.
I still think the animation looks so splendid, so colorful, and I just love the fact that we're getting a Mario movie. We haven't gotten an animated Mario movie. All we've gotten are these video games, and the video games are so colorful. They bring back so much nostalgia. The characters are so iconic and memorable that I'm surprised this hasn't become this smash hit franchise. They could have been making bank off of these characters in cinema, so I'm very excited to see this film. I love the trailer.
Because I don't.
I don't love Illumination's films, but when they hit, they're usually really great surprises. The Sing films, especially, two of my favorite animated films of the last decade. They are so vibrant and colorful and full of life and humor, and yes, it's more for a kid's audience, but I am a kid at heart, so I'm very excited for Super Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I think that's the actual title, but yeah, that's my most anticipated for April.
Oh my God. Okay.
Moving on to May, I only have 2 movies written down for May, one of them being my honorable mention, The Little Mermaid, comes out on the 26th. I like the idea of casting a person of color in the role of Ariel because I think the film at its core is about someone who is from a different background trying to connect with someone on the surface, the different races, almost that Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers type romance, except she is a person of the sea and he's a person of land, and I think there's a lot of great commentary that can be made having a black person in that role. I think there can be some really interesting commentary. That being said, these Disney remakes, sometimes they get a little bit too shot for shot that I can't for sure put this as my most anticipated for May. My most anticipated movie for May, though, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. There's my spoiler alert, one of my 2 Marvel movies that I put on this list, and I'm just so excited for this movie. This trailer got me excited. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy films, especially the second one. I think the second one is one of my favorite Marvel films, if not my favorite of all time. And then just most recently, the holiday special, again, I watched it, I was like, it's another Marvel project, and I was blown away. It's my favorite Phase 4 project. So the fact that James Gunn has made one, if not 2, if not 3 of my favorite MCU films, I have to have faith in him. I mean, he's going to lead DC as a franchise. He's going to be the Kevin Feige of DC because he is such a great creator. He has such a great mind, and he understands what the fans want, but also how to keep artistic integrity. And I think that's something that this film is going to bring. It's not going to feel like it's part of the Marvel mold. It's going to feel like it has its own artistry, its own handprint that James Gunn is putting on it. At least that's what I hope. And the trailer is already proving that. The trailer makes me break down in tears when I see it because I think someone's dying. I don't want to speculate or anything, but it's going to be a sad send-off, but a very good one, I hope. And that is why it's my most anticipated for May.
Pete, I'm done running.
In June, we have a lot of other movies to talk about. June is jam-packed, including another superhero film, The Flash. I'm not really excited for The Flash, but I'm intrigued by The Flash. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with it, especially considering DC is taking a different path, especially considering all the stuff Ezra Miller's been through. I mean, this is going to be a very, very interesting film that I'm more intrigued to see than I'm excited to see. We also have Asteroid City, the new Wes Anderson film. We have No Hard Feelings, a coming-of-age dramedy starring Jennifer Lawrence. We also have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I am someone who grew up loving the Indiana Jones films. This is the first one not directed by Steven Spielberg, so I'm a little hesitant there. But James Mangold, a great choice if you're going to have to replace Steven Spielberg, and I think this film has a lot of potential. I still am not 100% sold on it, but I'm very excited to at least check it out. We also have Elemental, which is the new Pixar film. Usually a Pixar film would immediately go on my most anticipated list, but it's because there's another animated film that I'm even more excited for, and this is, spoiler alert, the second of the 2 Marvel films I was going to be talking about. It's not an MCU film, it's a Marvel film. It is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This was on my list last year. This was actually number 3 on my list last year, and it got delayed to this year, so I think that's just built the anticipation even more. I've seen the trailers. I like the trailers. The new trailer hasn't really blown me away quite like I wanted it to. I think it's because I expect greatness already, so it's like, it doesn't have that element of surprise that the first Spider-Verse film had, but I'm still like head over heels obsessed with that first film and really excited to see what the second one brings. The animation looks lovely again. We're going to get new Spider-Man. We're getting Jake Johnson back. We're getting Shameik Moore back. And we're getting Haley Steinfeld back. And I'm really just excited to see where they go across the Spider-Verse. So then when we go beyond the Spider-Verse in the third film, it goes even bigger and better. And yeah, these films are amazing and I can't wait to see it.
You gotta promise, Miles.
I promise.
July. Oh, July. July has some of the contenders for, like, my most anticipated, not just of this month, but, like, of the whole year. Like, I struggled so hard to pick one movie that I'm most excited for July. I considered Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, of course, the new Christopher Nolan film. Those trailers have such a gargantuan nature to them. The only thing is that Nolan, his last few films haven't been my favorite. I really respected Dunkirk for its craft, but it's not one of my favorites of Nolan's. Tenet, again, a very interesting film, but again, another film I felt a little cold on. So Oppenheimer, I'm excited for, but I'm not like going nuts like some other people are about it, though. Of course I'm excited to see it. I'm going to see it opening night, but I'm going to see it in a double feature with another film, which I picked as my most anticipated for July, which we'll get to in a sec. I also considered The Marvels, another MCU joint. I'm excited for it, but again, there's only so many Marvel films I want to put on this list. I'm excited for all of them to some extent. And then Roosevelt, which is a film supposedly coming out in July, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, directed by Martin Scorsese. I had to like do a double take when I read that. I was like, wait, this is coming out this year? A Theodore Roosevelt biopic. If it does does come out this year, yeah, it's going to be one of my most anticipated, but I just don't know if it's coming out for sure, so I didn't put it on my list. But July, like I said, is so jam-packed that I couldn't pick just one film. I alluded to the one film I'm picking, but I'm going to break the rules. I'm picking two films. I'm picking, of course, like I alluded to earlier, Barbie, which comes out the same day as Oppenheimer. This is a new Greta Gerwig film. First off, I love Greta Gerwig's films. Lady Bird is one of my favorite films of all time. Little Women, I think, is one of the best film adaptations of all time of any classic literature. Greta Gerwig is amazing, and while I don't really know what this film is, I don't know what it's going for, what the tone is going to be, what the plot is going to be, if this is going to be a movie for kids, for families, for adults. I don't know. Like, the trailer was so ambiguous, but I think that's why I'm even more entranced and excited for it. So Barbie, I didn't expect, if it was anyone else but Greta Gerwig, I probably wouldn't put it on my list, but because Greta Gerwig's attached to it, like, I can't not be excited for a new Greta Gerwig movie. But like I said, I'm doing a tie because there has been a film that has been on my most anticipated list of 2020, my most anticipated list of 2021, 2022, and now again 2023, and it is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Finally, we're going to get this movie, and this is like the Top Gun thing of like every year, it's like, oh, is it finally going to come out? It's finally, and then it comes out, and it's not only good, but it's amazing, and I'm hoping Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 is also as amazing as Top Gun was, because Top Gun was a movie that wasn't really on my radar, and was one of, if not my favorite movie of 2022. So the fact that this movie is already on my radar means it has a lot of, daunting expectations on it, but just seeing the little clips they actually showed a teaser trailer during Avatar: The Way of Water of Tom Cruise pulling off this massive motorcycle jump stunt. If the whole movie's that, I'm gonna lose my shit over it. Like, I'm gonna lose my mind. I am so excited for that movie. More excited than I have been for a lot of movies in the past few years. So the fact that I had to pick one movie from July was impossible. So I'm going with Barbie and Mission Impossible, because Mission Impossible has been on this list every year, and now we're finally seeing it come to fruition, whereas Barbie is this, like, really big question mark that I'm so intrigued by just because of who's behind it. But like I said, that opening night where Barbie and Oppenheimer come out the same night, I'm going to be sitting there front row for both films on that night, just so excited, locked, and ready to go. I'm so excited. July cannot come faster enough. Moving on to August. August is a little bit more of a come down coming off of June and July, but I did have some honorable mentions. The new Neil Blomkamp film, Gran Turismo. Neil Blomkamp did District 9. I'm a big fan of that film. Watched for the first time for Picture This a few months ago. I'm excited to see another Neil Blomkamp film. The Meg 2, The Trench. This movie is probably not going to be good, but I'm going to be there anyway because I love giant spectacle shark whale things. I mean, it's stupid, but it's my kind of stupid. I'm excited for it. Haunted Mansion on August 11th. That's my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Nina. Haunted Mansion, a property that I was very fond of as a kid, still am now, going to the ride at Disney World, seeing the original movie with Eddie Murphy. This looks like it's going to be really good. I don't know a ton about this particular version that's going to set it apart from the Eddie Murphy version or the ride, but I'm intrigued nonetheless. But my most anticipated for August is actually a movie that not a lot of people have been talking about, but it's called Challengers. This also comes out on August 11th. It is directed by Luca Guadagnino, who I am a big fan of. Call Me By Your Name, Suspiria, like I mentioned with Mia Goth, two of my favorite films of the 2010s. He just made Bones and All this past year, a movie I wasn't very fond of. Even if I wasn't really fond of Bones and All's script, its story, I still really liked its direction. I really liked the lens that Luca Guadagnino was looking at this film through, and I really do think Luca Guadagnino, even in his misses, still provides something intriguing in terms of the cinematic language and what he conveys to the screen. So I'm really excited about this film. Also because this feels very different from everything Luca Guadagnino has made before. This is a rom-com about tennis players. Like, it's a sports rom-com, which is not probably in the first 20 genres I'd think of when I think of Luca Guadagnino. I wouldn't think rom-com or sports, yet let alone this is a tennis rom-com about two tennis players played by, wait for it, Mike Feist from West Side Story and Dear Evan Hansen. That guy, like the Mike Feist who should have been nominated for West Side Story. And Zendaya. She's one of the biggest stars most popular of the time right now. So the fact that we're getting both of them in a movie together, directed by Luca Guadagnino, which is also a rom-com tennis sports drama, like I'm really excited for this. Like I'm really excited for this. So we'll see how this goes. Transitioning to September, again, we don't really have much in September either. A Haunting in Venice, which is the follow-up to Death on the Nile, which is also the follow-up of Murder on the Orient Express. Another Kenneth Branagh film. I didn't love the last two films, so I'm not really that excited for this one. We also have a Quiet Place spin-off coming from director Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig. Pig was an amazing movie, so I'm really excited to see what he brings to this Quiet Place spin-off. But my most anticipated for September is another film like Mission Impossible that I feel like has just been on the back burner for years and years and years now. I think it was supposed to come out in 2020, and it is called Next Goal Wins. Oddly enough, we're transitioning from a tennis film to a soccer film. This is a soccer film directed by Taika Waititi, and this is why I'm a little apprehensive, because Thor Love and Thunder, I thought it was hot garbage, and I was really not a fan of what Taika Waititi did and the attitude he had in some of his interviews about the movie. That being said, my favorite Taika Waititi films are his originals, are the ones where he can really like flex his indie, quirky comedy New Zealand chops. Movies like Jojo Rabbit, movies like Hunt for the Wilder People, or What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm hoping Next Goal Wins is more along that wavelength than it is his Marvel stuff, because I like some of his choices, I really like, but all in all, I've really preferred his indie work more. So I think Next Goal Wins is going to be really fun, and because it was filmed a while ago and they've done some reshoots, so I just feel like this film has had so much time spent on it that it's either going to be like a hot mess because they could just never get it right, or it's going to be really magical and amazing because they've had so much time to get it right. Only time will tell, but it's been rumored to be coming out for so many years now that I'm really excited about finally getting to see it. October, again, a very barren month for movies. We're getting a Kraven the Hunter movie. Again, not really that excited, especially considering how awful Morbius was. True Love, directed by Gareth Edwards. Again, it looks interesting, but again, not enough for me to say it's my most anticipated. And then The Exorcist, which is a remake by David Gordon Green, who did the Halloween movies. I actually really liked Halloween Ends, so I'm a little more excited about this than probably some other people. It stars Ann Dowd, Leslie Odom Jr., and Ellen Burstyn. But none of these movies in October intrigued me enough to put them on my top 15. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull an audible, and I'm gonna go for a movie that doesn't really have a release date, but because it's horror, I'm gonna put it in the October slot, and that is Maxine, or Maxine for short, which is the third film in the Ty West Pearl and X trilogy. It follows Mia Goth again. This is the second Mia Goth horror film on my list. I'm just so excited for this. I'm excited to see how they finish this trilogy, where this trilogy goes. I love the first two films, especially Pearl. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Again, we don't know when it's coming out, if it's even coming out this year. I think it is, but I'm putting it in the October slot because this one usually belongs to horror, and none of the horror films coming out this year, The Exorcist or The Kraven the Hunter, like none of it really intrigued me enough to put it there. So this is going to be that representation for October. In November, we have a nice little trio of films, one being Wish, the new Disney animated film starring Ariana DeBose. I don't know much about this film, but I'm excited. Disney has been a little hit or miss, but now with Bob Iger in the producer's chair and the CEO chair again, I'm hoping kind of returns to form a little bit. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I was a big Hunger Games stan in my middle school and high school years, so I'm excited to see this prequel starring Rachel Zegler, like I mentioned, with Shazam 2. I'm excited for anything she's in, so I'm definitely going to be there opening night for this one on the 17th. But my most anticipated is that third film coming out in November that I'm really excited for. It is Dune Part 2. This was my most anticipated film of 2021. It was a great film. It really blew my socks off when I saw the spectacle of it, but I think Dune Part 2 is going to dive even deeper into the action, into the story, and I can't wait to see how this second half compares to the first and how it carries on the amazing stuff that we saw in that first movie. I'm really excited about it. There's really nothing else I can say. I love some of the new castings we've gotten as well. I'm really excited for Dune Part 2. Now, finishing up with December, I've got to pick one film here. There's a lot of franchise stuff here, like Ghostbusters is getting another sequel. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom's coming out on Christmas. We're getting The Color Purple, which isn't a franchise film, but it's based on the musical The Color Purple, which is also based on the movie by Steven Spielberg. This is also produced by Oprah and Steven Spielberg, so I'm excited to see this take. I really like the Broadway musical, so I'm excited to see how it translates to film, kind of like how Matilda the musical was translated to film after being a musical based on a movie based on a book. But I'm going with another Roald Dahl film for my most anticipated, and that is Wonka. Wonka coming out on December 15th. Wonka is a film that I probably wouldn't have as much excitement about, just given its basic premise and star. I'm really a fan of Timothée Chalamet, but it's not enough for me to be like, Timothée Chalamet's got a new movie, oh my god, especially especially coming off of Dune. Like, I'm already excited for that movie. But it's Paul King. Paul King is the director of Wonka. He's also the director of probably my favorite family franchise ever, Paddington. He directed Paddington and especially Paddington 2, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm very excited for anything Paul King does. If he can bring the Paddington sensibilities to a Willy Wonka prequel, like, I think this is a match made in heaven, and I don't know why more people aren't excited about this because it's Paul King. I'm a Paul King stan, I'm a Paddington stan, so if Wonka is anything close to the quality of Paddington, then it's going to be a surefire banger. Moving on now to some of the movies that don't have release dates yet. I've already picked 13 movies, 12 months plus 2 for July. So I have 2 slots left, so I'm going to go through some of the other movies coming out this year that don't have release dates and pick 2 of them to go on the overall top 15 list. I considered Legally Blonde 3, another movie that has been rumored for a few years now, seemingly getting the light of day this year. Ferrari, a Michael Mann biopic about Ferrari, starring Adam Driver as Ferrari. Michael Mann hasn't made a movie in a little while. Ferrari looks like a really interesting project. Again, Adam Driver, anything he's in, I'm excited to see. The new movie Havoc, which is directed by the same guy who made The Raid. It's an action film going to Netflix. If the action is just as good as The Raid, I'm sure this will be a big hit. Bottoms, which is a film by Emma Seligman. She is the one who directed Shiva Baby. She wrote Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby was a really great hidden gem of 2021. And if she brings the same comedy to this film, which is about 2 girls, they're senior high school girls who set up a fight club to hook up with cheerleaders before graduation. And Rachel Sennott is in this film as well, who was in Shiva Baby. So I'm very, very excited. This would be in like my top 20 if I had like a top 20. But I'm only doing a top 15. The 2 movies I did choose for this list, one being a film that I talked about last year, so I'm not going to go too in depth. Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's new film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. I am hoping this finally comes out this year. It was supposed to come out late 2022. Now it's 2023. Still hasn't come out. It's going to be coming to Apple TV Plus, I assume, in the next few months. So I'm excited about it, even if we don't have a release date. And then one of my most anticipated movies of the whole year is Maestro, a Leonard Bernstein biopic starring Bradley Cooper. I mean, I love a good musician biopic, something like Tick Tick Boom about Jonathan Larson, something like Amadeus, which is a biopic but a little bit twisted in terms of its fictional accuracy, historical accuracy, and I think Bernstein is going to be another great look into a creator's life, coming off of Tar this year as well. That's a fictional biopic about a fictional person, but again, I love going deep into the musical world and musical genius, and Leonard Bernstein is no exception as one of the most genius musical composers of all time. He did the original West Side Story, and you know, it's one of the greatest scores ever made. So I'm very excited to see that, especially also because Bradley Cooper is writing, directing, and starring in this. He's going to be playing Leonard Bernstein with his makeup, you know, the old age makeup, you know, the wrinkly hands, all that stuff. Like, I'm really excited to see him go this transformation. And because I think he was so robbed for Star is Born, I think he should have won Best Director and Best Actor that year at the Oscars for Star is Born. I think he's an incredible talent. So this kind of feels like making up for that loss, and I really could see it sweeping a lot of Oscars if it's really good, and if Bradley Cooper brings his A game. This is finally going to be the one that gets Bradley Cooper an Oscar, I hope. So we have the 15 films now. We have 12 films from the year, plus the extra July film, plus 2 films that I don't have release dates yet. So now I'm going to rank them from 15 to 1. At 15, because it was kind of a cheat in October, because we don't really know when the release date is coming, it's going to be Maxine. At 14, the Taika Waititi film Next Goal Wins. I'm not super hot on Taika Waititi now, but it's a film I've been waiting for a while now. 13, Cocaine Bear. It looks kind of stupid, kind of crazy, but just my favorite kind of stupid and crazy. At 12, we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's an Illumination film, so I really don't know what to expect, but it looks dazzling and beautiful. At 11, we have Challengers. I don't know a ton about it, except for the talent attached and the genre, but I'm excited because it is Luca Guadagnino, Zendaya, and Mike Feist. At number 10, kicking off our top 10, John Wick Chapter 4. I really don't have to say why I'm excited for this. I am sure all of you are excited for it as well. At number 9, Infinity Pool. It's coming soon, but I cannot wait for it. It's in my top 10. At number 8, strictly because it's Paul King, is Wonka. I'm really excited for Wonka. At number 7, kind of a similar deal because it's Greta Gerwig. I'm excited for Barbie. I cannot wait for Barbie. At number 6, a carryover from last year, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. At number 5, another Marvel film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I can't wait. At number 4, another carryover from last year, The Killers of the Flower Moon. I hope this finally sees the light of day this year. At number 3, Dune Part 2. Dune Part 1 was my number 1 of 2021, most anticipated. This is number 3, not too shabby. At number 2, Maestro. I think this is going to be one of the big Oscar players next year, and I cannot wait. And my number 1, though, because it has been on my list now for 3 years, is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I cannot wait for that film. I cannot wait for all these films. These films are going to be so exciting to watch, even if they're bad, even if they're cheesy, campy, even if they're not as great as I imagined, but they're still really good. I'm excited to see them all because they all have little bits and pieces that I'm really attached to and really intrigued by. So, what are your most anticipated movies of 2023? Let me know in the comments down below. Is there anything I forgot? I know I didn't mention stuff like Transformers, some other properties. It's because I'm not that passionate about them and I haven't seen all of them. So let me know in the comments below what I missed. What are some of your most anticipated films, and what are some of your favorite films of 2022? I haven't done a top 10 yet because I'm waiting for the Pickle Awards, where I'm going to announce my favorite movies, categories, actors, actresses, directors, techs, all that stuff. That's kind of going to be my year-end wrap-up where I kind of look back at the films of 2022. But let me know down below, what are your favorite films of 2022? What are you looking forward to in 2023? And did you like this video? If you did, make sure to like it on this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps my channel grow. We are doing a subathon in February where I'm going to try to get a lot of subscribers. And of course, like I mentioned, the Dyl Pickle Podcast is up and running. This is going to be there on the Dyl Pickle Podcast, so I'm very excited to just get this channel growing and branching out into so many more directions. It is such an honor to be making these videos and to do it for a group of people who are so respondent and so generous with their comments and their criticisms, their honest criticisms, and I am so looking forward to all 2023 has to offer. Thank you all so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Peace out.